Isabella and the others tease him, but Xiang Ye is determined to pass the test. At school on the melee branch, Master Mike Yasso plans to teach them a technique. He asks for a volunteer to demonstrate it. Mike hands him a rock and tells him to hit a statue as hard as he can. The guy breaks the statue, but the rock shatters too. Mike explains that to learn the technique he must hit with full force, but keep the rock intact. The guy thinks it's impossible. Then, Mike grabs a small bird and smashes the statue with all his strength, but the bird remains unharmed. The students are amazed, wondering how he did it. Xiang Ye surprises him. The knight introduced them as students, who are here for the entry test. Mike asks if they want to join his class and he shows his power, scaring them. However, Isabella isn't scared, which surprises Mike. He offers her a spot in his class, but she declines, wanting to join either the magic or sword mastery class instead. The knight thought that Xiang Ye was also fine, but after he touched him he ended up fainted because he couldn't hold Mike's fierce ability. He wakes up after a few moments and he is told that he failed the test. Xiang Ye was happy about it because he didn't see himself training for that every day. He introduces himself to this guy. The guy introduces his name as Alex Air and accepts being his friend. He says goodbye because he had a fight class to attend and the knight agrees to take them to magic and fencing. Then we see a training field where Dorona the fencing teacher and Wadley Acey the magic teacher were fighting to decide which branch would use the training field. Both were equal in powers, but they kept fighting and they use a powerful attack but gets deviated and almost killed an old man. But Xiang Ye manages to save him by a hair, and he was terrified because if the attack would have reached him, he would be dead. Dorona points him with the tip of the sword and asks him who he is because she never saw him by the school before, and Xiang Ye says that he helped the old man from dying, but when he turned to see him, he was not there anymore. The knight says that he is Sophisa's friend, and when she heard that name she was desperate to see him, but the knight says that he didn't come, and angrily she asks why they were there in her branch. He explains that they are new students and they came to take the entry test, but before that they are going to measure their strength. ACY gives everyone a special sphere to measure their strength. Xiang Ye doesn't know what to do with it, so he asks a knight for help. The knight explains that the sphere shows how strong someone can become with training, called their limit power. If someone's limit power is low in both magic and fencing, they'll be rejected. Isabella grabs the sphere but it doesn't shine, making Dorona almost reject her. Suddenly the sphere starts shining brightly, surprising everyone. Isabella had a lot of hidden power. AC asks if she learned magic before and Isabella says yes, but she lost her magic for some reason. AC accepts her into the magic group, but Isabella is torn between magic and fencing. Dorona doubts Isabella's abilities, but Isabella explains she studied fencing abroad and wants to take the test. She accepts and sends Barry to fight against her as a test. And before they start fighting she explains the rules, and one of them is that they can't use all of their limit powers, and after the whole explanation Barry starts attacking her. But Isabella avoids his attacks easily, and Barry continues attacking her, but no attacks manage to reach her. Isabella gets close with one attack and uses an incredible ability to make him get back, and making him angry, so he uses his limit powers and attacks. But a guy called Legend stops the attack, saving her, and Xiang Ye thanks him for saving his wife, surprising everyone, thereby letting them know that they are married. Dorona gets mad with Barry for using his limit powers, and on the other hand she presents her most powerful apprentice, and he was eager to see him as Isabella's fight partner in the future. Dorona asked if she learned her skills from Makia, and she said yes, surprising everyone because Makia was known as the sword god. Dorona saw how strong she was, and agreed for Isabella to be her student, but AC said she was already her student, which led to a fight between them to decide who Isabella would stay with. Then Xiang Ye interrupted, wanting to use the sphere to measure his powers, hoping he'd be super powerful and become the main character of the world. But the sphere didn't shine at all. AC took the sphere, saying she knew Xiang Ye would fail, and called him useless piece of wood. The other students made fun of him. The knight explained that being called useless piece of wood is a person that has no power limit, which made Xiang Ye even sadder. Isabella told everyone to be quiet or face her. Xiang Ye hears that, recovers and says that even if he has no powers, Isabella would always protect him. And before he goes to try another branch he cheers her up and wished her luck in whatever branch she chooses. As Xiang Ye walks along he asks the knight if he can join a group even if he doesn't have special powers. The knight says yes, but not a fighting group for now. After a while, they arrive at the forging class. Xiang Ye sees that they're drawing a sword, but their drawings are really bad. Xiang Ye thought forging class was all about hammering to make stuff, but Master Ashton Martin says he doesn't know anything about forging. The knight explains he was captured by demons and doesn't know forging. Martin then shows him how it's done among humans. Martin draws a sword on the floor with a big brush, and with a word, it turns real. Martin says humans create things like this with alignment crystals. Xiang Ye doesn't know what those are, so he asks how to use them. Martin says with those crystals, he can make things like he saw with the magic brush. Xiang Ye gets sad thinking he needs special powers to use them, but Martin says it's not needed for forging. Excited, Xiang Ye asks Martin to teach him. Martin asks for a drawing as a test, so Xiang Ye draws Dorona's portrait, surprising everyone. Martin agrees to teach him, but first, Xiang Ye has to learn the rules of forging classes. He says he needs to be careful with what he makes, and take responsibility if things go wrong and he cannot create living objects. Xiang Ye accepts and thanks Martin for accepting him into his branch, and Martin gives him a brush so he can begin with his classes. Later on, Jero arrives very angry to the king's palace, where he asks for an explanation on why the regent wants to execute the agriculture minister and the leader of the Grey Dragon's knights. Angus says that the agriculture minister gathered with the East Beasts tribe, and the Grey Dragon's Jero says that they did it because that tribe was struggling with drought and food, so they sent food to be able to get along with them. He asks to reconsider that decision of killing them, but Angus shows him that some beasts were already captured and one of them will be the sword god Malkia. He also shows the heads of the agriculture minister and the Grey Dragon's knight leader. The king is confused and asks Angus why he did it. Angus says that the king is a good person. He did the dirty job for him, and he also said that knights from the Black Dragons and Red Dragons are on their way to the East tribe to extinguish them. When Guro hears about that, he asks the king to stop that before it caused more tension with other tribes. But the king is afraid, not knowing what to do, so this guy let the chains off on purpose, and Malkia, noticing that his powers were coming back, shouts that he will not let his people and his tribe to be extinguished and attacks the king to end everything. But Sophices stops his attack, and he stabs Malkia, ending with his life. And this guy is getting near the king to see how he was, and he gives the final blow to Malkia. The king gets petrified, scared by that beast, and Guro realizes that everything was planned by Angus, who accepts it with an evil laugh. After that, Xiang Ye is walking towards some portals, and not knowing where they would take him. He asks a knight, who says the portals go from the academy to the residence. If Xiang Ye wants to stay in the academy, he must live on campus. Xiang Ye wonders why he can't go back to the mansion. The knight gives him a key, saying he can use it to return to the mansion if he doesn't want to stay on campus. If Xiang Ye stays, the knight will live with him. Xiang Ye feels thankful. He will try to find Sophices' brother when he get back to the demon tribe. On the other hand, we can see Sophices with Guro going to the king to try and make him reconsider some things when making important decisions. When they arrived, a knight told them they already knew they were coming, but the king orders were that only him and Guro could be in the room. Guro tells Sophices to wait outside, getting in alone, and Sophices had a bad feeling about letting him in alone. Guro called the king, but he wasn't there, and Angus appears from the shadows and says that he sent the king to practice archery. Guro knew that this conversation will not end well. Sophices was still waiting for his father, and a guy called Sato appears and talks about the White Dragon's Knight Squadron, that it should be led by the king, but being just a child. That power had to be passed to the regent. In that moment, Sophices realizes that something wasn't right, and after seeing the knights he was planning to enter the room, but Sato stops him. Sophices with a sword in head asks what will they do to his father. Nothing, says Sato, because Angus is inside and he is making him see the true state of the capital. Sophices asks lots of questions, but Sato leaves. Meanwhile, Xiang Ye stays in the North Campus. When he opens the door, he sees Isabella changing clothes, but she doesn't mind because he's seen her before. Isabella talks about how well they're treated in the academy, but Xiang Ye suggests escaping. She refuses because the academy controls students well, and breaking out would be hard. She says the academy is surrounded by a magic field and she can't break it yet. Xiang Ye asks for another plan. She says they should wait until she's stronger. Xiang Ye asks her for another plan, and she says that they must wait until she gets stronger in the academy. She also said that the demon tribe only accepts strong people as leaders, not somebody weak, and she gets sad when Xiang Ye sees that. He promises her that he would take her back to the demon tribe so she can be the queen again, saying that he chose the forging branch because it is destined to be powerful. Then he asks her what branch did she chose. Isabella says that she chosen both, so she could recover her strength quickly, and both teachers accept it. Xiang Ye takes advantage of the conversation to get into the bed, and they kept talking about how they could become stronger quicker. Then, when she saw him on the bed, she asks him to leave, but Xiang Ye says that he is just pretending to be a married couple, making her blush. They keep talking, but Isabella throws him out, threatening him with a sword, and he goes to the floor where he starts thinking about things he can create with his magic brush. The next day, Isabella wakes up, and when seeing a silhouette in front of her, she grabs her sword asking who is there. But when she sees it well, she realizes that it is a statue made by Xiang Ye, and after getting out of bed she sees other objects, asking to herself what could it be. Then she hears some noise in the living room and she realizes that there are other creations made by Xiang Ye, and she was planning to ask him everything about those creations in the night.